Good day, good night, and welcome to breaking news audio for February 21st, 2020. I'm Kevin Laramie, joined by Duane Rollins as always. And Duane, the Canadian Premier League 2020 schedule is out. Single table, 28 games, 4 games against each opponent. 14 home games, 14 away games. We have a schedule for the 2020 Canadian Premier League.
Well, we have the description of the schedule. If you try and find it at this exact moment of recording, you can't. Hopefully, they'll fix that soon. There's no access to game by game yet, so we can't break any of that down, like what the longest road trips are and stuff like that. But certainly, we can now talk that they have dropped the split season format, which existed just for the first season, and have gone to a single table, they're calling it, which just means a round robin, because a single table also implies that there would be no playoff. And there is.
There is playoffs. Team number 2 and team number 3 will face each other to face the winner of the single table. I guess the winner of what? What would it be? There should be a trophy for the regular season. Will it be another shield, 2 shields? We'll see. That we don't know. But we do know that it will be a playoff. Is it going to be a one-off, a playoff series? It's not clear as of this moment. But we know that the first team that the entire table. So on October 4th, after the last regular game of the regular season, which they will be all played at the same time. It's a decision day, Canadian Premier League style. And on that day, we will know who finishes first of the table and gets a bye to the finals 2020. And then team number 2, team number 3 will face each other and will join team number 1. It starts on April 11th and ends on October 4th. Duane.
Yeah, I would hope that, look, I am an advocate for a playoff of some sort. We've gone over this before, but if you're listening new, my position is that it respects the cultures of the North American sporting landscape. I know not everyone, a lot of people get their knickers in a knot over the fact that there's playoffs in North American soccer, saying that it's not right or it's not correct or it's not legitimate. Always makes me insane because any format's legitimate. They're just different. And I reject the notion that one creates a better champion than the other. The only thing that matters is that everyone is competing under the same rules, and they are in this particular case. We are in North America. North Americans have playoffs. North Americans understand playoffs. North Americans want a big game. They want a game in which there's confetti at the end and a team holds up a microwave plate in this particular case. So it's important, I think. And I think anyone who was at the CanPL finals this past year, and I was for the first leg, understands that it was a great experience and it was a bonus to the league. So I know that in the lead up to this, Kevin, in the lead up to the league itself, there was a lot of rhetoric about trying to do things the European way, trying to maintain, basically it was all coded words for saying we're not going to be like MLS. And I don't think that having a 3-team playoff, even in an 8-team league, is like MLS. Now, if they keep adding teams and they keep adding playoff teams till we get to some absurd level where half of a 20-team league is in the playoffs, then we can have this conversation again. But I'm okay with 3. We saw last year where there was really nothing to play for down the stretch. It's important. I would be okay with them even going to 4 when they get up to 10. I like a format which gives a lot of advantage to the team that finished first. In that particular case, I would hope that with this, Kevin, as my final thought before I let you jump in, that it is a single game between 2 and 3 played at 2, so that third place team would have to basically win a road game and then go win a home game in a final against the first place team to win the champion. You give them all the disadvantage possible, and if they fight through that, then so be it. And I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, we would all be happy with that if competitiveness was assured until the end of the season. Maybe that will be the case. Here's the official press release from the Canadian Premier League Communications Department, received about an hour ago. The Canadian Premier League is excited to release a full 2020 regular season schedule presented by WestJet. Matches begin with the league opener on April 11th, 2020 and continues through to the end of the regular season on October 4th, 2020. Each CPL club will play 28 regular season games, 14 home, 14 away, and will move to a single table format. The new format provides fans with a more competitive season that creates more exciting matches right to the end of the season. The top 3 clubs will move to a playoff series in order to proceed to the finals 2020. At the conclusion of the season, first place will earn a bye to the finals 2020, while the second and third place teams will compete in a playoff to see who advances. After listening to our many fans and supporters, the overall schedule has undergone some exciting changes, including over 90% of the matches will be played on holidays or weekends in 2020. Weeknights matches focused around good times and summer nights. 2020 will introduce Friday night games, a new tradition for CPL fans to establish. All 8 clubs will play on Canada Day. All the final matches of the season will all be played simultaneously on October 4th, 2020.
Don't be surprised if those Friday games are marketed as Friday football or Football Friday.
Friday night football tonight.
Yeah. Don't be shocked if that's the case and they take place when the CFL sort of shifts away from the Friday night games. But look, more weekend games is great. Less weekday games. Obviously, this is a league that it still has growing pains when it comes to butts in the seats. It's not as we've talked about in the past and have demonstrated to us now. It's not the necessarily an absolute requirement for the long-term success of the league, but it certainly is helpful, especially for optics and perceptions. I mean, I'm reading a lot of Ottawa stuff of late, and there's a lot of talk about, well, this team survived. And that's always the nature when you're in, a country where they look at butts and seats and go, well, if we don't have butts and seats, can we survive? So
there's also a PTSD in Ottawa sports market. So
and it's also when you have a general sports reporter coming in, it's how can you quickly summarize that they're part of an international players market now? But that's a different story.
Yeah, you're asking a lot right now.
Doesn't that seem wrong? Well, maybe when you think about it, but that's not the point. At any rate.
Oh, but you're right, and that though the move to a balanced schedule first of all, and I'm interested to have the details. Like we of course didn't go match by match, so we didn't analyze the travel aspect of the schedule. But I think that's important. So by next week, when you and I will have a lot more time, okay, next week is going to be the start of MLS season, of course, a busy time everywhere. But by then, we'll have time to look at the travel schedule of teams like Halifax, of Pacific FC, and even Calgary and FC Edmonton when they travel to Halifax, and Ottawa, how they play into this. And if travels are made into a way that maybe when you go coast to coast, you actually make stops along the way. I'm interested to see how the travel aspect of this schedule, what it implicates, looking at the different dates and fixtures to see what the actual travel schedule will be like.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do for Pacific and Halifax, right? I mean, they're on the opposite sides of the country. They're an area that's not easy to get to. I think the way you handle those trips is you schedule them early, so when they're like fresh, so they're not doing it in the middle of the dregs of summer. And you also ensure, hopefully, that it's something that what happened to Halifax last year when they went on like a month basically on the road. Doesn't happen again. There's ways to do that, and hopefully that gets addressed. The other thing that I am curious to look when we do have access to look at the detailed schedule. Basically, today we got an idea of what the schedule will look like, and some of the teams are trickling things out, but we haven't really had a chance to drill down. I want to really look at York 9's schedule and compare it to TFC's, and I know that's going to ruffle some feathers when I say that, but for God's sakes, let's not be delusional here. It matters. It matters for a little less in Pacific's case, but I think it matters still a bit too, because you do have crossover fans there that come from the island to the mainland to watch the Whitecaps games. And even with Ottawa, there were a significant portion of Ottawa fans that were also Impact fans back in the day. So you don't want too much crossover. I can tell you firsthand, having gone to 6 or 7 York games last year, it's the crossover is like 80%.
Well, it's familiar faces. No, of course. And when we do live shows like right now, when you're listening to us on social media, well, we know who listens, right? And when we do a Canadian Premier League focus show versus example of Soccer Today talking about TFC in Montreal, there's a lot of familiar faces that I see. So no, there is a big crossover, and it would be ill-advised to negate a portion of your fan base the opportunity to do both. And I think there's ways, and if it is not addressed here, for sure there's ways to address it in the future. But when we look at the schedule already, with home openers announced yesterday, you will be able to do a double duty, if not triple header type of day with your friends and soccer in the GTA area.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was looking earlier. There is an opportunity to see something like 3 professional games within an hour of drive within a week, and that's from 3 different teams. We've seen 3 games in a week before, obviously with one team, but it's kind of neat to be able to do it with 3 teams. I enjoyed that a great deal. That was one of my favorite things, and I know that I'm in a unique position here in the GTA, and it'll only get more unique as they add more teams, because the rumors are that KW will be the next team in, which isn't technically the GTA, but it is. You can take one of those little green buses to it. So
yeah, exactly. It's not in the GTA proper, but you do have one more to transportation, an hour and a half in the gold bus over there.
And we've heard rumors of an Eastern Toronto team as well. So eventually, this is going to seem like living in London, and that's going to be perfectly fine for someone like me who will probably live in the GTA for most of the rest of his life, unless someone wants to hire me in Manchester or something.
Sure. Anyone's listening over there across the pond?
Yeah, no. So it was nice last year to do that, and I think that there's look, I don't mind with the York thing, and I think it really benefits all of these teams to work together. Put the MLS on a shelf for a second. Even York and Hamilton, they should really try and avoid having them play at the same time, because there is an other element of fans, it's just soccer fans, that would be interested to go. Like if there was a York game on a Saturday and a Forge game on a Sunday, I'm sure there are a few hundred that would do both. And in MLS, or sorry, in CampPL, when you're talking about a couple hundred, 200-300 people, that's a big number in those audiences, and it's significant to sort of create and to work towards appeasing that hardcore, because they're the ones that are also going to go buy your strips and your scarves and probably have a beer at the stadium and everything else. And it's important to do that from a business perspective. But, we're getting a little off the rails here. I just like the fact that it is an even schedule. 4 games against each other is a bit much. So they're going to learn to hate each other by the end.
But what else can you do? Like either that, or you play 6.
No solution here, yeah.
Or you play 6 games against the closest team and 3 against the furthest team, but it doesn't make it balanced, and then you open that Pandora's box.
Yeah, and I think that when the one area that I do tend to want to be as close to traditional Europe as possible is to avoid conferences. I'm not a big fan of conferences in Major League Soccer. It's why I don't really count the Supporters Shield for much on that side of things, because how can you possibly do that when you're playing look, we're going to do our MLS. It's going to be MLS prediction week next week if you're a crossover listener there, right? And we're going to go deep into this. But when we come down to make our Supporters Shield pick, it's ultimately like, who cares is the answer, because they should give a shield for both sides. That would be something I could get behind a little bit more.
You know what they should do? Never mind the shield on both sides. You remember that early 90s movie Double Dragon, where they both had a piece of a medallion? Like you make like the yin and yang signed. Each conference has one, and then they come together, and it's a trophy when it comes together. Maybe that's an idea.
Yeah, because when I'm going to make my prediction for Supporters Shield on MLS side, I will be going, okay, what side's weaker? And I'm probably going to pick whoever I pick to win the East to win the Shield, because the bottom of the East is weaker than the bottom of the West. Yeah. That's a little bit of a preview of next Friday's Soccer Today. But
you do face Chicago. You do face also Cincinnati and Orlando a couple times in the season.
Yeah, and I'll keep the peace and not mention another team right now. But
thanks. Yeah. For sure. See you Wednesday.
Well, sure. Yeah. At any rate, this is good. I mean, it's kind of like the Scottish Premier League now, and it's not too much off the size. So, for those that think it's dismissive, it's get 2 more teams in this, and it's the Scottish Premier League, and you played each other 4 times or whatever, and it's good times. Look, I'm glad there's a schedule. People can plan their trips. I mean, that's like such a small portion. I know a lot of the folks online will be like, I need this schedule out now so I can plan my away days. I'm like, they're not going to.
So I can plan my wedding around it. Why not? That's what I did.
They're not going to bend to the wills of like the 12 people that travel, right? Okay, I'm being a little dismissive. The 200 people that travel though,
or like just for big things, like I did wait till I got like the MLS schedule, or at least kind of had a ballpark. That's what I did when I got married last year. So
I was married on a TFC game day.
Well, they were playing, but I made sure they were playing away. So at least there's that. So I can
Oh
get
no,
my friends to
I
the
missed
wedding.
a home day. They played the New England Revolution. They tied 2-2. Didn't really work out in the end, so it doesn't matter.
So the
Didn't work
wedding
out
or
either
the
way.
game? Both.
So
I'm
yes,
kidding. Anyways, on that note, we hope you enjoyed this breaking news audio. If you want the podcast version of breaking news audio, you have to become a Patreon supporter, which you can become at patreon.com/sports podcasting network. It's with your support and your contributions that we can do stuff like this whenever it becomes available. We can go live here on our multiple platforms and are able to talk about what we seen is important to talk about. So thank you for supporting us at patreon.com/sports podcasting network. We'll be back with the flagship soccer today on Monday. Until then, if anything else happens, we'll be right back. If not, until next time, we wish you a great weekend.